I'm ready to rock and roll. I'm live now.
All right. Want this song to play out? It's a minute 30 seconds left in the song.
Nah, kill that song. Give me my I'm looking at this bag. I can think Burberry. Give me my Burberry. my leading song. Maybe Glenda jump in before she jumps out. Especially since she's been ghosting me on the phone. I feel so bad. I was like, I thought maybe I did.
Yeah, you have the lady keys.
I would never admit to that.
Business card, and whatever your company and or organization needs to get the word out to the community. Our service is fast, first class, and our products are high quality. Don't hesitate to call
Al Maddox.
410-566-3005. Email us at sales@timeprinters.com or simply visit our website www.timeprinters.com. We guarantee your satisfaction and promise to exceed your expectations. Thank you and have a good day.
And that's not my feet.
The all-new WMEG Radio.
The night circle of sanity, radio show.
Reach it out.
This is state of emergency.
The night circle of sanity, radio show. The night circle of sanity, radio show.
Show me what you got, baby. Show me what you got, show me what you got, baby. Pick up that wave.
The night circle of sanity, radio.
You want answers. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
The night circle of sanity, radio show.
You know, I think the one thing we have to do around here is get a better sound person, because clearly what's going on sometimes is just the sound is there's reverb and echo and ear piercing stuff going on. I'll be happy when, like, maybe, I don't know, the Gangster Assassin is running the board, because I don't have these problems when the Gangster Assassin is running the board.
Who is that?
That would be Nicole Mighty Midget Moten.
That's because when the gangster assassin here, everything is muted. The people can't even hear you.
Don't throw a little behind under the bus, under the little short bus, on the bus to see the wizard.
Call in Nicole and defend yourself.
She can't reach the phone. The phone is probably on the wall.
Yeah, I sent her a video on Sunday when we was at the stadium. And what happens is you see a little person with a big beach ball, right?
Uh-huh.
And the little person kicks the beach ball, and a man catches it, and it's like a little jack ball from the game Jacks.
Oh my goodness.
And he takes the ball and throw it back, and then the beach ball knocks the little person down, man.
See,
I thought that was so funny.
See, but what you don't know is Rock, after the show's over, Rock will call her and tell her all kinds of evilness that I've supposedly have said when I did not say it, and she believes it because she believes everything he says. When all I say is, if you don't make your payments on time, she will come by and threaten to break your kneecaps. Now, she might have to jump up to break your kneecap, but she will threaten to break your kneecap. Anyway, tonight's Nitelifer Circle of Sanity.
Yeah.
Yes?
You have a caller.
I'm afraid to ask who the caller is.
Get him, Nicole.
Hold on, yeah. I'm
See, we need somebody like Nicole to be working the board. I don't have these technical problems when Nicole's running the board.
There's your caller, yeah.
Hello, caller. Who are you? How are you?
Yeah, you got a lot to say. You got a lot to say when you are not in my presence.
Listen. I have a witness in the studio right now who will verify that I said I need Nicole
Your
back here
witness was
working.
the one who said, call in Nicole and defend yourself. So thank you, Glenda,
You're welcome.
for that. Because I heard her say that
But
over there, cut the line on the phone. You lucky I have Bible study tonight. We ain't started just yet. I said, well, I'm going to check y'all out for a little bit. And you out here running your mouth. But that's all right.
But Glenda, did I not?
Son.
Glenda, didn't I say that we need her behind the board working it because we don't have these problems when she's working the board?
He did give you a backhanded compliment.
See? That's because my hands are black. I give black-handed compliments. You just caught the bad part.
Yeah.
Why are you yelling?
Whatever, man. Whatever.
Why are you yelling?
I talk loud. Between you and Rock, y'all haven't learned that as of yet?
Well, all I know is, as I was saying earlier, the board is run better when you're here than when the people, you know, who are running the board now are running the board.
Yeah, so what were all those short joke comments before you said that? What was those?
Well, I mean, it's true. You're short. If I'm short and I can call somebody short, they're short. I'm short. But you should know I got nothing but love for you, honey.
Yeah. Glenda, you had a good show.
Thank you, Nicole.
You're the only reason why I actually tuned in. And then I was like, oh, that's right. Yale comes on after Glenda. I guess I'll stay on.
Oh, I remember that Saturday morning. I remember that this coming Saturday morning when I tune into your show. You're the only reason I wake up on Saturday morning.
It doesn't even matter. Because by the time you tune into my show, it's always like almost over. And then you say something smart that has nothing to do with the whole topic of the show.
That is so untrue all the time.
Nicole, what day of the week your show is on?
Say that again, I hear you.
What day of the week is your show on?
Saturday, Human Nature Pros and Cons of Healthcare every Saturday from 10 to 11 a.m.
When is Saturday?
When is what?
Saturday.
Thursday show?
No. When is Saturday?
See, he's messing with you.
Shut up.
See?
Talking to you either.
Right, exactly.
No,
exactly. See,
I asked because Yale said he was going to listen to your show on Saturday.
And I am. I'm going to call in and listen in. And last time I called into your show, I brought up substantive issues that you were talking about.
But when is Saturday, Yale?
It's the day for Sunday.
That's Saturday.
Why?
It's the day before what?
Sunday.
Did you say Sunday?
See, why?
That's not what he said. No, it's not what he said.
See, let me explain something to everyone listening and the people in the studio. I don't catch this grief when I'm at the stadium and people say, "Hey, I'm here," and I go down and give them a free ticket and they sit with me in club level and we hanging out and we meeting celebrities. I don't get all this grief then. I'm the best friend for life, and he high fiving people in the stadium talking about how great a friend I am.
I haven't said anything, have I?
No, you haven't, Glenda. So the next free pass I get to the stadium, I know who my friends are.
Okay.
I got to keep it.
Glenda.
He's been to 2. So what does that tell you?
If I could just get one.
See, it's when you let the light-skinned people in your life come hang out with you. This is what you get.
I make you stop going.
See, this is
Well, welcome to my world because he does the same for me.
This is what I'm trying to say, Nicole. But then he calls you after the show and throws me under the bus, right?
Like something that I really do believe that you say.
But I showed you evidence last time, didn't I? Remember what I sent you?
But it's like getting the both of y'all together. It's just like I need a whole bottle of Stella Rose just to survive.
You got me, Nicole. I'm here.
Thank you, Glenda.
You're welcome.
Just so everyone knows, there's more than one line to call in. If you want to call in, 443-267-6558. When we start talking about the substantive issues and not picking on poor Luca Brazzi, the hit woman for the show, who's the enforcer, the gangster assassin, who has a show on Saturday mornings from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. where she talks some things that make you think she's a sweet, wonderful person. But if you get on the wrong side, when you meet her, you're like, this can't be the same person who was on the show on Saturday, because she wears a do-rag on her head and she's got brass knuckles. I've seen them.
Hey, yeah.
Anyway, my notification just came up. So Bible study has started. You guys have a good show. Glenda, I'm with you in spirit. Don't hurt nobody, Glenda. Don't hurt nobody.
And
I won't.
have a good Bible study, Nicole. And I hope you all, when you finish and go to see the wizard, it's a nice trip down Yellow Brick Road.
Hey, yeah, but I knew you was gonna get to the Yellow Brick Road. That's why I want to mention this before she go. We went out. Went to a meeting in Dundalk to take care of some business, right? Yeah.
Uh-huh.
We came outside and we were walking back to the car, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. She tripped up and fell. I took her, and you know how tall she is, right? It took her 27 minutes to go from the state of position to flat on the ground. She fell.
She slow fell.
Yes. I was so amazed, and then I was scared because it was like the Leaning Tower of Pisa. And she said, "Ooh." Yeah, it was a sight to be seen, man. And you would think being that close to the ground.
See,
Nicole,
Nicole, see who your friends are.
I am a friend. I helped her up, and I didn't laugh until I got her in the car.
I mean, he did. He kept saying, "You all right?" And I'm like, "I'm fine." He was like, "Well, get up." I'm glad to see all that myself to get up. So that one, he definitely got that one, because that thing's still funny to me.
Nicole, I was
like, what the? Yeah,
I don't like to ask women their ages, but I will tell you this. Over 25 years ago, which would have made me in my late 30s, I was coming home from work and it was raining, just drizzling, in the fall, like the ground gets all slippery, right? And I got out the car and I noticed that the condo complex I lived in, they had freshly painted the curb, and they had painted red for "Don't Park Here," right by the mailbox. So as I got out the car and walked, I noticed it and I said, "Yale, don't step on that because it's going to be slippery." And as I stepped over it, my back foot slipped out from under me. And I said to myself, "You're a former athlete. Tuck and roll and then pop up. Tuck and roll and jump up. Tuck and roll and back." And this is going through my mind as I'm falling. And as I landed flat on my face, I said, all right, it's cool. Nobody's looking, right? Nobody's looking. Just hop up. Hop up. Hop. Hop up. And as I crawled to my knees and leaned over to the mailbox and crawled up the mailbox to stand up, so everything's all right. Nobody saw me. I'm good. Just walk it off. Just walk on in the house like nothing happened. And I'm walking, limping, dragging my left leg behind me. Like, okay, it's over now. After 30, it's done. You don't do the things that you did before you were, like when you were 18. You don't bounce. You don't tuck and roll. You don't hop up. So yeah. I feel you, honey. I feel you. I'm glad you're okay. But
thank you. I appreciate that. But yeah, that one, he can have that moment because that was funny. That really was.
All right, well, enjoy.
All right, I'm going to Bible study. Y'all have a good show.
All
right, thank you.
Later.
So as people can hear, the silliness in this studio is because I think Rock pumping in some kind of like laughing gas. He keeps it 195 degrees in here anyway.
I have to make him cut the heat off.
Isn't it warm? People look,
yeah,
so let me explain something to you. I don't have cameras to show like another person in the show has the whole webcam show set up with the streaming software. You can point your cameras. I can't do that, but I will show you on the Facebook feed my guest tonight, the beautiful, wonderful Miss Glenda Curtis. Come on over here, Glenda. Glenda has a show that comes on Wednesdays before my show, and she's agreed to stay for the night show. And Glenda had a full afro going on before she walked in here, and the humidity and heat has dropped it down. And Rock is light skinned, right? So light skinned people like it hot because they don't have any melanin in their system.
I just don't want to be cold.
Well, I'm over 50, and I had to remind him that it felt like an oven in here.
It feels like your grandmother's house, right?
Exactly.
Like your grandparents' house, and they have the heat set on like hell.
Right. And the heat and the oven.
An oven.
With the door.
And you walk in the kitchen, it's like going from the Sahara Desert to like, I don't know, like to hell, because it's hot. That's what it feels like in here. He talking about don't like be cold. It's like it's chilly.
He's anemic or something.
There's something wrong with him. There's something wrong with him. Like Eskimo looking self.
I turned it off.
Yeah, but you didn't open the door. It's hot as hell up in here.
That's gonna make it cold.
See, he picks on Nicole about her height, but he must think she's in here because she, normally works at the North Pole for the winter time.
Elf?
I'm just saying.
Y'all gonna make a call back. I promise you.
No.
I didn't say the word. Anyway, so let me get to it. So tonight's show, let me first start off by saying I appreciate the fact that people are listening on the show and have been watching the show and have given me a lot of support. And I've really been seriously thinking about ending the show. And the reason I've been thinking about ending the show is because I don't think the things going on in the world and in this country today can be somewhat depressing. And I feel like, tilting at windmills, pushing against the wall, pushing a boulder uphill. And you wonder, like, at what point is enough? And just kind of like in my feelings about it a little bit, because the more days go by, the more BS we hear about what's happening in the election and the lead up to the election and the campaigns and all. It gets kind of disheartening. And so to that point, I was thinking about making this my last show. Then I had inspiration, and I'm re-energized. My inspiration today came from last night. Last night I was up until very late, watching television, being on not just Facebook, but on the interwebs, looking stuff up. And it got late, and I said to myself, okay, that's it. I'm tired. I'm calling it a night. I'm going to bed. And anyone who knows me personally should know better that I am the type of person that I jokey joke all the time. And I say things with a different light. I'm not always 100% happy. I'm not always 100% jovial. I'm not always 100% on, so to speak. But on those times when I'm feeling bad or I'm feeling bad about anything, I'll express that directly with people and on social media. Case in point, when my grandmother passed away in 2017, I was deeply affected. My grandmother was very important to me. I had my grandmother till I was 55 years old. Not a lot of people can say that. I loved it, did that woman, and without question, I was her favorite grandson. Now, I was her only grandson, but that is not the point. But I went through some stuff, and I was sad about it, and I would make posts about how much I missed her. My entire crew of best friends is now gone. I lost my 3 closest friends in between 2014 and 2018. And some other very close friends died all in that same time frame. And, I'll go through it every now and then. I'll have these moments where I just miss these guys and these people, and I'll post that. But I'm not the type of person who will be going through anything and make some ambiguous comment on Facebook that should make people wonder if I'm suicidal or if I'm just going through some stuff. I will let you know. But the last thing I would do is post something like that on Facebook as a cry for help. So people who don't know me intimately, personally, from a relationship standpoint, don't know that. And I forgive them for that. And I appreciate their concern. But people who know me in those ways should look at that and go, yeah, Yale's being Yale. And I posted last night that I've had enough and I'm throwing in the damn towel. And I posted 2 pictures of towel, well, 2 emojis of towels. And then I went to bed because it was late. It was going on midnight, if not later. And I need to carry my ass to bed. It was ridiculous. I was up that late. I got a text and a phone call from my mother. I got phone calls from certain people who were friends of mine. And I'm like, what's going on? Like, oh, your post, we worried about you. What's going on? Oh, Lord, are you okay? Do you like what? If you follow me on Facebook, you know I post stuff like that. I was just tired. I was ready to go to bed. I appreciate the concern from people, but I understand that there are people who are so caught up in social media that that's how they relate to everyone. And I'm not that person. I'd rather have a one-on-one conversation with someone face to face. I'm not a person who's on the phone talking to people. I'll text you. I'll email you. I'll interact with you one-on-one. But if there's something bothering me, there are people I will talk to about it. And it won't be the 3,000 people who follow me on Facebook. I wouldn't do that to everybody. And I apologize for putting it out there. But it made me say, let me continue my show and talk more than just about politics. And let's talk about social media and how people are influenced or live their lives through social media. They're good, they're bad, they're everything they do, they have to post on social media. And the conspiracy theories that come from that permeate throughout our society because people are writing to an audience of thousands, in some cases millions of people about the same stuff. So to that end, I asked Glenda when she finished her show to stay and let's talk about this situation because Glenda has a lot of insights and she's a very intelligent woman and deals with people on a different level than I deal with people. And if she can tolerate rock, then she must be able to offer me some things that I can't see. So Glenda Curtis, welcome back to the Nitelifer Circle of Sanity. I'm sorry it's so hot in here that you didn't sweat it out, but thank you for staying and hanging out with me for tonight's show.
You're quite welcome, and it is my pleasure. And I definitely wanted to weigh in on this subject matter because it's something that I constantly talk about. This whole social media craze has been to the destruction of a lot of people's lives.
Yes.
There's too much. I don't think people understand what they're doing once they put it out there. It's not about your Facebook friends.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about your family. You are putting the world on notice about what's going on. So the world starts to weigh in.
Mm-hmm.
And so the people that you think that are your target, that you want to convey this information to or put on blast, now you're getting feedback from people that don't know you, that will probably you will never see, and they have strong opinions, and then it becomes out of control. Like, I'm just from that era that you keep your business to yourself.
Right.
Like, you mind your business, you keep your business to yourself, and you try to manage that, and manage it in an appropriate manner. And with this social media craze, it has just gotten way too out of control.
Way out of control,
I
right?
am not interested in, what is happening down somebody's pants, or what bump, grew down there, or ingrown like, I'm not really interested in that. And I'm not interested in how you just found out, that you're pregnant, and then you found out that your baby's father is on a download. I like some of that information is just too sensitive, and
Right.
it's going to require you to take that information in and process it yourself, not with the world.
Right. And there's such a seeking of validation from people you don't know, right? So that you have to people. When I say you, and I know nothing's absolute, but the people who I'm referring to, we're talking about, are those people who social media is their entire life. Like, it kills me. Like, I'll take a selfie every now and then. When I take a selfie, I'll look at the picture and I'll come up with something silly or clever to say, and I'll caption it and I'll put it out there. But there are people who will go into restrooms and have video of them in the restroom getting their hair together, putting the lipstick on or whatever, and doing the duck lips thing, which I think is so ridiculous to me. It's like, why would you grab a group of people and say, come to the bathroom with me and watch me, like, wash my hands and do? But people do this on social media, and it's a way of life now. And it's not like, you're a few years younger than me. Well, a lot of years younger than me. But when we were growing up through the 70s, early 80s, that's not how we related to each other.
No. And I think I just come from a generation of people that kind of shunned, like, putting your business out there. First of all, there are things that you have to work out within yourself.
Right.
And there are things that probably need to be exposed, but you really have to carefully weigh the pros and cons with that, because too much exposure, it will implicate you, and you're not going to be able to control it after it gets out. You totally lose control. And so for me, it's just strictly entertainment. And then
that part,
I'll see people defending the person who put their business out there and say stuff like, well, that was mean or whatever. It's like, didn't they know what they were doing when they put it out there?
Exactly.
And I'm, and I comment all the time. I'll tell them, like, you bleeding hearts, go somewhere and get your social work degree if you want to. But right now I'm trying to laugh because it's 4 a.m. I can't get to sleep. You know what I mean? So,
right. And sometimes you're like, it's 4 a.m. I got to throw in the towel. I'm done. I've reached the end of my tolerance level. And it's scary because those of us like you, like my mom is clearly a generation ahead of me. But people get caught up in reading all of this stuff, and they feel like everybody must be putting this out here for them to weigh in on. And it's not up to I don't. The best way I can say it is, just because you see something, you don't always have to say something.
Right. And it really reinforces the greater need for therapy. And so people are using this as their therapy.
Right.
All of these untrained, ignorant, not all of them, but you're going to get a good mixture of a whole lot of things that you don't want, and you're not really going to get any help. You're going to get more ridicule than anything. You're going to have some people that will offer empathy and sympathize with what your issues are, but for the most part, you're going to get clowned and ridiculed, and you're not going to walk away feeling great.
You're not. So when Linda, you last time you did my show, I had a forum of people here. I had you, I had Troy, I had the young lady whose name I always forget. Kiera. I was going to say Kiera for the first time. I was going to say Kiera, but I was like, it must be Kieko or something. Anyway, but we talked about a lot of different things. And one of the things that Kiera brought up that I never realized or took into consideration before she said it is the generation that I come from. Our validation came from our close friends and our family members. And if people weren't on your side for those things, you knew it.
Mm-hmm.
You would know, like, Rock may say a lot of bad things about me, but I know in a joking way, I know he's joking.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I can tell when he's joking. But some random person will come up and say to me, the clothes you got on look like da, da, da. Like, who are you to be telling me anything?
Right.
Right.
And so I'm glad you pointed that out, because you kind of knew what you were going to get.
Right.
Now you got strangers who don't know a
Complete
thing
strangers.
about you.
Complete
will never probably
strangers.
see you because they live on the other side of
The world.
weighing in on your situation. And then you want to say, and then you want to go at it, because I read the comments. They go at it with these people, but you signed up for this when you went live.
Yep.
Or when you made the post.
Right. And the funny thing about that, to piggyback on that, one of the things that I it just gets to me all the time is the internet, Facebook, Instagram, X, all of it. It propagates BS,
Mm-hmm.
and people get caught up in it because they're taking advice from people they don't know personally and saying, oh, this must be real because it was on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I always laugh about is when people I think should know better start pushing out this. There's always some sort of post about, I saw on the news that Facebook is now going to blah, 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 start charging, or Facebook can use my pictures to do this. But if I write on my page that I do not give Facebook permission and you should do this too, copy and paste and blah, 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 blah. And whenever I see people who I think should know better say this, I say, you know damn well you didn't say that on TV, because it wasn't on TV. Right. First of all, you live in an area where you don't get Channel 9 out of Decatur, Illinois, right? So you know it's not. So, but understand what you're dealing with. When you sign up for Facebook, when you create your account, there is a list of all these things that Facebook is asking for your permission to do in order for you to have an account. And same thing when you get new software, you buy new electronic equipment, they issue out what's called an end user license agreement. And it's very fine print. If you read through it, which no one does, right? But if you read through it, it says by having an account on Facebook and posting your pictures, you authorize Facebook to use these pictures. Now, it doesn't say we can use these pictures in any way we want to, but every time you post a photograph on Facebook, anybody on Facebook who can see your account can take that photograph, can take that picture, can do whatever they want to with that image.
And therein lies the memes. This is how memes are created.
Exactly.
You can put your own words to whatever face you choose.
Whatever face you choose. And you can do things. For me, again, like you said, it's entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
But there are people who are not believe because it's on Facebook, this must be true. And I got to stop Facebook from, and because the old theory was remember, before there was social media, before there was Facebook, there was this whole conspiracy theory that the government is tracking us through our $20 bills. You remember that?
Mm.
There was a strip in a $20 bill. And if you hold up then they'll track your buying habits, which is insane on its face, because I don't care how much money you have in your pocket. No one knows it's your pocket.
Right.
But we now walk around with cell phones and on social media, and we're giving out information.
We're always under surveillance.
Right. And there's cameras everywhere now as it is, because society is a now look at me, and there's no more privacy anyway. But when you say, hey, I'm in Cancun this week, look at me, you're telling the world where you are. No one needs to track you. You're telling everybody where you are.
You're telling the robbers that the coast is clear.
Coast is clear.
Yeah.
Yep. So don't, first of all, if you see it on Facebook first, I would say check and verify it initially before you go repost it. And if it came out on Facebook, 9 times out of 10 is some bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
But don't get so caught up in Facebook being the end all, say all of how things are. And this is why we're right now in this political climate, less than a month away from the election. And there are all these lies and misinformation and crazy bullshit.
Because they know there's an audience that's going to take that as
and
truth.
Run with it.
Mm-hmm.
And run with it. Number one, nobody is eating cats and dogs in Springfield, Ohio. And if they are, they're not Haitians. Haitians don't eat pets. They're people.
You remember the Inquirer magazine?
Yes, which is an endorser of Donald Trump, but go ahead.
They would deliberately put out lies.
Yes.
Knowing that they would get sued. But if they made $50 million off of this story and somebody sue them
for $6 million,
they
still profit.
Win.
Profit. And then they can put that out there and you get even more people to view it.
Exactly.
Right? So when we get into these conversations and arguments with people who support the other side, and I'm gonna say the other side because I am clearly not in the MAGA group, but they read these stories that are so insane that anyone with a brain would say, well, that's ridiculous. Mm-hmm. But you can see how easily people are drawn in by, like I said, with stuff with the end user license agreement. So one of the things that's going on now is, and Marjorie Taylor Greene, the Republican Congresswoman from Georgia, and was propagated by Trump, is that the Democrats control the weather. They control the weather, and they sent Hurricane Helene and Milton to the South to really pump up Biden and make Trump look bad because he's not able to fix it. Mm-hmm. Now, people can control weather now. A whole political party could control weather now. Like when you hear people say this, you go, like, for me, I pause, like, what?
Right.
And then they don't understand that this man says anything out of his mouth, and his people say anything out of their mouths. And this is why 7 years ago now, this man drove to DC to shoot up a pizza parlor because this mysterious QAnon said that this pizza parlor was trafficking children for sex with Democrats.
Mm-hmm. No. So you could just arbitrarily make up some cockamamie bull crap, and there's an audience.
And there's an audience that'll buy it. They'll buy into it. I talked about this last week on my trip. I got into this whole discussion with this gentleman in the airport while waiting for my plane, and he was just spewing this stuff out at me. I was like, "You can't be serious about this." Kamala is. She's a communist and a fascist, and I've seen her membership card on LinkedIn. Like, really?
In the age of AI, people have the nerve to just take stuff at face value.
You know, my favorite phrase is, and it's always from their side, I've done the research. Like, you haven't done no research. You don't know what research is. If you really did research, you would figure out that you're being hornswoggled, right? So when I hear or read people say, well, Biden administration has run out of FEMA money because they're giving all the money to the immigrants. That's not how this works.
Right.
That's not how any of this works. First of all, if you actually dig in, I'm not going to say do research, but if you actually dig in and not get your, and I had a former classmate, high school classmate, send me this link. And this is true, and this is where I got it from. And the link was to a right-wing news organization. And as soon as I clicked it and saw it, I closed it out because I don't want that shit in my feed. But I said, why are you, if you really want information or you want to verify something that you're getting, go outside of your bubble, right? There's a whole website called verifythis.com.
Yeah.
It's not left wing, it's not right wing, it's just facts straight down the middle. If you go there, you can find information. First thing is, there's a whole program that's administered by FEMA but it's not FEMA's funding, but it's for funding migrant, not immigrant, migrant workers housing. So people like I've discussed on the show before, down on the Eastern Shore who are picking crabs and working in the summer can have housing while they're working on and earning a living. So it's not money coming out of your pocket. It's not money keeping FEMA from doing their mission, which is managing emergencies and disasters. And they're saying the money's running low. If it does run low, there are ways they're going to get money. They'll either run in a deficit or they'll petition Congress or the president to give them more money. Every agency in the federal government and local governments as well, people, but in the federal government, every agency has a budget. And whatever that budget is, that's the money that's allocated for them to do business for a fiscal year.
And they have a general fund.
So if FEMA's, just to keep things easy to deal with, if FEMA's budget is $1 billion and coming into hurricane season, they've already used $975 million of that $1 billion budget, they can petition Congress for more money. If Congress does not give them money, then they run in a deficit, and that money affects the deficit in the budget. Mm-hmm. It has nothing to do with money running out because they've given money to immigrants. And I beat my head against the wall and yell at people, Black people especially, who feel like they have been led to believe that immigrants being here are some way and somehow, shape, or form keeping us from having something.
Well, if you look at the history of this country was built on immigrants. You know, if you
immigrants and us,
right?
Because Black people, Africans are the only group to come to this country against their will and been forced to work as farm equipment and free labor.
Exactly.
But to your point.
Yes. And if you read, you know, the information on the Statue of Liberty, mm-hmm. she reinforces, I mean, the writing reinforces that. But, you know, to your point about fact checking, I missed the debate between Angela Also Brooks and Larry Hogan last week. But I could so appreciate what Channel 11 did, mm-hmm. because whatever they were saying, especially about one another, they had this fact checker on there.
Right.
And they fact checked everything. And that speaks to the integrity of that media outlet, that they didn't just put information out there. It's like, okay, Also Brooks said this, they put it through the fact checker. Mm-hmm. Hogan said that, they put it through the fact checker, and they weren't biased. They allowed the facts to
speak for themselves.
Exactly.
Right. Lead you down the path of reality, not, and all politicians lie. It's the whole business of
the nature
of politics. They lie, they obfuscate, they embellish. They have to make themselves seem better than their candidate, other candidate. I don't know why it is, but that's how it's done, right? So whether they stretch the truth or they flat out lie, like dogs are being eaten in Springfield.
Because their only hope is that it falls on somebody's ears and they run with it.
And then they spread it,
Mm-hmm.
and then they vote behind it.
Exactly.
But so for the presidential debate between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump, he claimed, again, I've said this, that was the fourth time, that dogs and cats and pets are being eaten in Springfield, Ohio. And they immediately said to him, the fact checkers, the panel who were questioning the candidate, said, that's not true. We actually talked to the city managers of Springfield, Ohio, and that's not true. And Donald Trump said, well, it was on television.
Right. He doubled down
on it. And people believe it. Like, I thought it was a joke, but people actually believe it because and this is the thing that really gets me. Some of the stuff is so outlandish that the only reason you believe it is because you either want to believe it or it just doesn't matter.
Right.
It just doesn't matter.
Just stupid. It's just stupid, like an imbecile.
So my saying has always been this: stupidity is inherent.
Mm-hmm.
Ignorance is a choice. Like, if you're not a bright person, you're not a bright person. Right. But there's so much opportunity and avenues and venues now to learn.
Right.
You don't have to be a college professor to learn things.
Right.
You can learn.
Right.
If you choose not to read, learn on your own, you're choosing to be ignorant.
That's right.
Right? There's no excuse on being ignorant of the facts. If CNN, and this is, I bring this up all the time, I don't watch CNN anymore. I don't watch CNN anymore because during the whole situation with the Boston bombers, CNN cited themselves as a source. Mm. To me, that was the height of bad journalism. You can't cite yourself. You can't cite your own news organization as a source. They didn't ask anybody in the Boston Police Department, in the FBI, in the Boston Bureau of Investigation, Massachusetts Bureau of Investigation. They cited themselves, and they said that an arrest had been made because another CNN reporter had said it. So that was their source. Mm-hmm. But that proved to be completely false. No one had been arrested at that point. Mm-hmm. They hadn't even shot the older brother who plotted the whole thing. Wow. So that, to me, made me pull away from CNN. Now, I'll click to it every now and then to see people like Jake Tepper or have conversations, whatever they have. But I mainly watch MSNBC. I refuse to watch Fox Noise, and I refuse to watch AON and all these other ones because, one, I make a decent living, but I can't afford to buy a new television every week. And I know I will throw a brick through my television every day for this stuff. But if there's something that seems a little weird to me, I'll go to verifythis.com. I'll go to Snopes.com. I talked about this last week. The same guy I had this discussion with in the airport said to me that he was sure that Kamala Harris was the border czar. Now, that's the big thing for them now. She was the border czar. And I said, she was never the border czar. Biden never appointed her to be border czar. Oh, yes, it is. I can prove it. And I said, okay, how are you going to prove it? And he pulled out his phone and he asked his phone's interactive command did Biden appoint Kamala Harris to be the border czar? And he waited and looked at the phone. And I'm standing there. And then he put his phone in his pocket and walked away. And I said, what you doing? Right. What did the phone say? I mean, what? But I don't want to talk to you about this anymore. Like, so when you press it up like a kid, right? Because you so want to believe it that you think you've seen it before when you really have not.
Right.
You know, and it's not hard. It's not hard. The code is really easy to break. Come off of social media and go do research.
Like old-fashioned research. Like, social media is also making people lazy and incompetent.
Again, choosing to be ignorant. But yeah.
Lazy and incompetent. Like there's nothing like true, authentic research, peer reviewed.
Mhm.
If you are peer reviewed, that means you have education and credentials behind you to even produce an article that is worth even reviewing.
Right.
And so that's foreign language to a lot of people, peer reviewed articles. Like I want to get information from people that I consider who are scholars, my
Right.
peers. This crap that people are putting out there just because they said so. Like, who are you?
Like Marjorie Taylor Greene again refused to call Anthony Fauci doctor because she didn't respect his credentials. This man has been studying medicine longer than this woman has been on the planet.
How old is she?
I think she's 30 stupid.
She,
Like I don't even know.
Anything.
No, but like
or 40 anything.
But she's. I don't think she's over. I don't think she's out of her 40s yet.
Wow.
Right. But just the fact that this 82-year-old man who's been practicing medicine and doing research in this since the 70s, if he's been doing research since the 70s and before, he's been practicing longer than she's been here.
Right.
Right. And whether you think he doesn't know what he's talking about or not, the fact that he's credentialed through CDC and NIH and all the other government and internationally recognized agencies for his work. The man did research for AIDS.
His work is undisputable.
Indisputable. You can't. But just because he didn't fit the narrative that you want about the COVID situation, because you're listening to what the talking points are coming from Donald Trump and what you feel as, a privileged white woman from the backwoods of Georgia, you are going to impugn his integrity when there are people in Congress.
The same person that said use bleach.
Yes. We can inject bleach into our system to kill germs, kill the COVID, corona, right?
Yeah.
But because he said, and this is a person, we're not even sure Donald Trump actually graduated from college because he refuses. He's gone to his college and has paid them to not release his transcripts. Same person who was all on Obama about his birth certificate.
Right.
And then after the birth certificate was produced, same person who said, well, I don't believe he was president of the Harvard Review and the Columbia School of Law because I don't believe it. Like, so you don't believe it. That doesn't mean that it's
he's not a scholar.
He's not a scholar, but you want to believe him to be a scholar because you believe him to be the end all to say all. Again, there are good things about social media. There are things about social media that are really good. But there's also way more hooey and bullshit on social media than there is real information. The real information is out there on the internet. Let me tell you something. Back in the 90s, I worked for MCI. Mid 90s, I worked for MCI. MCI, people don't understand this, didn't know this, don't know this. MCI is the company that really owned the main backbone of the internet.
Right.
So you had AT&T and a lot of other long distance companies that had their long line. People, if you're 30 years old, you don't even know this information. You don't even know that we used to have to pay for long distance phone calls. Like you had, the reason there's an area code for your phone is because if I was calling out of my area code zone from my home phone landline, it was a charge. If I wanted to call Washington, D.C., I had to pay extra to make that call. And that call wasn't handled by Verizon or AT&T or Mint Mobile or whatever all the companies are that are out here now for your cell phone. They were landline companies, local telephone companies. And if you had to make a long distance call, that company got charged by the long distance company when they passed that charge back on to you. as a consumer. But MCI was a challenger to AT&T, and their long distance lines ran along all the railroad tracks in America, which gave them unprecedented access to all this interstate commerce, right? But then when the internet started being built out, they were able to leverage that. And the internet really started as a way for military, I don't want to say bases, but for the military, United States Army, to communicate across the country. And from that moved into universities, and the government and the federal and the military did business with the Army to build out the internet. So in those days, MCI being the ones that had the landlines, the long distance landlines, became the front runner to push out the internet. So the government, the federal government and military end of that was called DARPANET, and DARPANET worked with the universities, like I said, to push communications across the country. And then with the colleges and universities did research to help grow this. And then the universities and colleges started communicating with each other over the internet. The first email was sent from, I think it was California at Berkeley University, I think, or Stanford, to a college in New Jersey. So one of the people who helped build the internet was a man named Vinton Cerf. Vinton Cerf worked for MCI and was the front runner for internet security back in the 90s, before we knew what we should know now and how we deal with communications over the internet. So what I was doing at MCI, I would have meetings with Vinton Cerf and his crew. They knew then what people today still don't understand, that there are a lot of bad things that can happen when your computer is connected to the world. Not just viruses, but just bad and crazy information, misinformation. The whole statement that the pen is mightier than the sword, you now push it out that the internet is more powerful than actual weapons of mass destruction. A person who knows what they're doing can cripple a country by getting on the internet and shutting down the energy grid. Any country, especially this country, it can happen like that if there weren't controls in place. So doing that as a directed attack is one thing, but what Donald Trump has figured out, which is even more insidious, is he can say anything and get millions of people to believe him just because he said it. Mm-hmm. And that misinformation can be pushed out and cause all kinds of damage to not just the country as a whole, but individuals.
Right. Well, a lot of people who have been arrested and prosecuted during the insurrection, they found out
the hard way, right?
Yeah.
FAFO.
Right. And so some of them have gone public to say, this is what he said, this is what he made us to believe, and now they are sitting in jail, or these were people that were awaiting trial. Mm-hmm. They were just bamboozled. But I don't blame Trump. I blame them for believing the absurd things that come out of his mouth. Because you have to have a level of common sense mm-hmm. to be able to filter some of that information, mm-hmm. and that they were absent of that. And
again, it just goes back to what I was saying. They chose to be that ignorant, mm-hmm. right? They didn't choose to be. I mean, they were stupid enough to fall for it, But there were so many other opportunities for them to verify if they really wanted to verify it and believe it. This guy again in the airport, he and I got into this whole discussion because I said, well, that's not why we had the discussion, but because he started it because he thought he was recruiting somebody. I don't know what made him think that when he looked at me, but he made a statement about why he supported Trump. And I said, I'm not going to tell you why I support who I support, but I will tell you this. Above everything else, above everything, all the other reasons that are valid, the one thing for me is if you lead, incite, push out, whatever, something that leads to an attempt to overthrow the United States government, to me, at that point, you become ineligible to hold any office in this government, especially president.
Exactly.
And when you lead an armed insurrection, there was no armed insurrection. Nobody had guns. And I said, well, look, I got a swizzle stick. If I take this swizzle stick and stab you with it, have I not attacked you?
Right.
He said, well, yeah. I said, so by definition, then that swizzle stick becomes a weapon, right? And he said, yeah, so I've armed myself with a swizzle stick. I'm now armed, right? He said, yeah, but that's not the point. I said, so what the hell is a flagpole? What the hell is a fire extinguisher? If I throw a fire extinguisher with somebody,
only has one what am I trying to say? Purpose.
It's to hold the flag.
Right.
But you can use it as a spear. There's
right.
pictures of people using these things, fire extinguishers, bear spray, flagpoles as weapons to attack the people. And you know what? No. I saw the video. That wasn't that bad. There video of people like the security people opening the doors so people let them in. And I said, no, see, okay, here's where we have to get real. I have a very good friend who is a Capitol Police officer. And I reached out to his wife while I was watching this unfold on television. And I asked her, hey, is he okay? Is everything okay? And she said, yeah, I can't talk to you right now. He just sent me a text message and then called me to say he loves me and to kiss our daughter because he didn't think he was coming home. And live time, she said, he doesn't think he's coming home. And I said, oh my God, if you need me, reach out. I'll come down there and get y'all. Like, I'm praying for him to make it home. So don't tell me this shit wasn't real and it wasn't violent and it wasn't dangerous, because people in a situation that have time to call their spouses and say, I love you, I don't know that I'm going to see you again. That shit is extremely real to them. That's real life and death situation. So don't try to minimize it, because that's reality. Won't give a shit what you think you saw on the internet, what was parsed for your intake. That's a real situation.
Right.
So, don't come at me and say, oh, it wasn't this because I saw a video. So I know what I know. I know people who lived through it, and then he comes at me with, well, then the only person that was killed was poor Ashley Babbitt. Poor Ashley Babbitt.
The only person that was killed? There was several.
There were several people that died, but for as far as he was concerned, the only person that got killed was poor Ashley Babbitt, who was shot because no. This chick was breaking down a door with a bunch of other people. She refused a lawfully given order by someone who was paid to protect the property and the people inside to stop. When that window broke and she came through, he put a hole in her shoulder. Didn't shoot. I'm sure he was aiming center mass, but he didn't hit her. He wasn't a fatal drop dead shot. She got hit in the shoulder.
Right.
She died because she bled out because her friends, her group, that so-called friendly group that was just touring the Capitol refused to let first responders through to get to her. She died from a bullet in her shoulder.
Wow.
Stupidity and ignorance killed Ashley Babbitt. Because you break in my house, just like Kamala Harris said, you break in my house, I'm going to tell you, don't do it.
Yep.
I'm going to tell you again, don't do it. If you break a glass and put a pinky through my window, I'm here to tell you, Anthony Fauci and Quincy and the whole crew from ER and Johns Hopkins are not going to be able to perform miracle surgery on your ass. I'm emptying everything I got into you.
That's right.
Give no F's. You're going to F around and find out. And if this man is hired to protect, to serve and protect, and she came through the window and didn't stop when he told her to stop.
Right.
All I know this is what I know. This January 6th coming will be 5 years she's been clean and sober.
Wow.
So, and then Troy Brody has chimed in. Hi, Troy. Glad to see you join us. To go back with what we were saying about this misinformation, one of the lies propagated is from the right and the MAGA crew that the governors could not reach Biden during the hurricane. So that's been disproven. But the reality is the federal government comes in response. FEMA is a response organization. They stage and they get ready and they tell people, get your ass out. If you can't get out, then they're going to try to come and rescue you and get you out before the storm hits. But after the storm is when they do recovery and rebuild. You're entitled to this money that FEMA has there. This whole bullshit about $750 is all you'll get from FEMA is from people who've never lived through it. Your first check is going to be $750 from FEMA. Anything else, you got to prove and show and get that what you deserve. Now, if you don't have insurance, the federal government is there to help, but it's not there to rebuild for you. But they will help get you out. There's nobody that was sitting on a rooftop in North Carolina, Georgia, Florida, South Carolina that was impacted by the storm that FEMA does not have money to help. They weren't sitting there because FEMA didn't have money to send rescue vehicles for them.
Mm.
But that's the lie. And Biden reached out and called the governor of Georgia, called the governor of North Carolina, called the governor of Florida. The federal government, Joe Biden, has been there. It's always so funny to me that they'll say things like that when there's a Democratic president, and now after Trump is really crazy, when reality is people's memories are so bad, they don't remember Katrina. They don't remember what happened during Katrina in 2005. They don't remember that George W. Bush had appointed a good friend or heavy donator to his campaign to run FEMA and had taken resources from FEMA to help fund the Iraqi war. They don't remember that Condoleezza Rice was the so-called presidential advisor, national security advisor, who was notified by Spain, I think it was Holland, and other countries that they were sending resources to help during the aftermath of Katrina. And she was on a trip to buy shoes in New York City and said, man, that's not necessary. We got this covered, without checking, without verifying. And all that stuff that was sent to help just went bad and died on pallets and ships that could have been used to help people. They don't want to talk about that. But all of a sudden now, Joe Biden is bad because he controlled these storms. He sent these hurricanes, and now there's no money to fix what his hurricanes created. The absurdity is just absurd.
And that goes back to what I said about like some stuff is just common sense without even getting, doing research. It's common sense, but for some, common isn't common.
Right. Right. You got a brain, you got to use it.
Right. And a brain is a muscle. The more you use it, the better it becomes.
Exactly. But see, and all that.
And use it or lose it.
Yes.
Use it or lose it.
Use it or lose it.
And a lot of them lost it a long time
ago. But that's such big picture stuff that's reality that is easy for me to understand that on a personal level, little Sally Mae Hoppinscotch and Hackensack, New Jersey, who has very little self-esteem, can get validation or belief in what other people saying about her, as opposed to people who can actually help her. And you said it so clearly and so beautifully earlier. People using social media in place of getting real therapy, real medical professional help.
Right.
And though I am not by anyone's standard spiritual, religious, go to church guy, I think churches are suffering because people no longer seek help from those institutions as well. They rely more on what they see in social media.
Mm-hmm.
And I know, look, I know the Catholic Church has a really bad reputation right now, deservedly so, for some things that have happened. But there are people in the pulpit who can offer help and a real community of support. If your church, if you go to church, if you support a church and they can't offer you support, guidance, and assistance when things are bad, then you need to pick another church.
Right. You have to reevaluate what the value is and how and whether that matches your value system, because I'll be damned if I'm going to continue to patronize or attend and tithe in a place that will not be supportive of me in my worst time. And that's what's happening with a lot of places.
Right.
It's not reciprocated.
Right.
You give and attend and support, and then when it's time for you to receive that of which you are given, you just don't get it.
You don't get it. And if you're not getting it, then you need to reevaluate.
Right.
If you support either party and what you're giving in isn't being reciprocated, you need to reevaluate.
Or look at the track record. Because if history is a teacher, just look at the track record and look at the position that was held and who held it and what they did and how did their positioning move you forward in your life.
Mm-hmm.
If you just look at that, nothing else, how did them being in that position positively impact your life? And don't tell me no shit about no stimulus check.
Oh.
Because if you earned a regular paycheck, then that wasn't nothing but money that could go in your savings.
Right. If you did it right.
Right.
Right. But that's another one of their talking points that have fallen down that people will need to ask.
How much was the stimulus check in total?
It depends on what you
like if you were eligible for all of it.
I think it was $600.
I think it was a little more.
More than that?
Yeah. Well, all right. So let's throw out a number. Say you got $1,500.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I've actually heard people say, "Well, I got a stimulus check." So you are basing this whole election on a $1,500 stimulus check. Could be more, could be less, but let's stick with 1,500. So, barring all else, it came down to a $1,500 stimulus check. That really tells me that you need to do more in your life.
How about no one asked the question, why did you need a stimulus check?
In the first place.
How about this person who you think is the great savior ran the economy so badly, things went to shit in such a quick period of time that they needed to send out stimulus checks to help people,
right,
because people were losing their jobs left and right.
And it was, if you got them, you got 3 of them. So you got stimulated. And that's it. Like, so your problems are resolved, because if that's what they're sticking with, then all of your financial problems were resolved because you got that stimulus check.
Wrong. All right, exactly. Think about it. You know what? I'm old enough to remember when my grandfather came home with 2 blocks of government cheese that was given away from the Army surplus. And one, yeah, it was some interesting cheese that you couldn't put on a cheeseburger because that shit didn't melt. Right. But
you ain't have a cheese slicer.
Right. Or a very strong knife. Right. But why did we get that cheese
in the first place? See, I get a stimulus check, and it's bi-weekly.
Every 2 weeks I get stimulated.
And if that's not enough, then I'm going to use my skills, my education, and things like that to go get some more stimulation. Because if that's the end all be all, then the problem should have been resolved.
It should have been resolved, right? And as Obama said clearly, and because people forget, Donald Trump inherited a very vibrant economy. The Barack Obama administration spent 8 years digging.
He inherited a surplus, right?
No, Trump did. No, Trump didn't inherit a surplus. George W. Bush inherited a surplus because Bill Clinton balanced the budget. The first time the budget had been balanced in I don't know how many years, and it hadn't been balanced since. But Bush, with his non-funded wars, took the economy to a very, very, very bad place. And then the housing bubble burst. And at the end of the Bush administration, Obama was the first to suspend his campaign to run to Washington to talk to Bush. And then McCain said he would do it as well. And the economy was in the toilet. Mm-hmm. And Obama spent 8 years. And I remember being in person saying, wow, it's not really happening fast enough. But Obama, because everyone swore he was such a radical Democrat, and he's really a middle of the road conservative, take the long view type of administration. They didn't want a quick fix. They wanted to set the economy up to be good for years, and it was. And then when Obama walked out of office, Trump got in, and the first thing he did was destroy Obama's budget and tried to get tax breaks for his richest friends and corporations, and that blew the deficit out of the water. Mm-hmm. So yeah, you got a stimulus check, but you needed that stimulus check because the economy went to hell in a handbasket in 4 years. After 8 years of growth, it went to shit in 3.5 years. Yeah, and I'll put out there that COVID had a lot to do with it, but it wasn't great when COVID hit. Right. So people think, oh yeah, he's a businessman, which he's not. He's a great businessman, which he definitely isn't. And he's going to fix this, which he can't. He's not.
And he hasn't.
He hasn't. He didn't. He had people in place that their mandate was to get rid of Obamacare and to find money to get tax breaks to the richest 1% of people in this country. And if you weren't on that tip, if you weren't a millionaire, if you weren't on your way to being a millionaire, you did not do well during the Trump administration. And when they say to me, "Oh, aren't you better off? Weren't you better off 4 years ago than you are today?" First of all, my answer is no, I'm not. I was not better off 4 years ago. I'd lost my job 4 years ago. I'm making much more money now. My 401k is doing much better now. I have a job and I have a side hustle, and I'm able to do things that I could not do 4 years ago. So don't ask me if I'm better off. Was I better off 4 years ago? I wasn't. 4 years ago, I couldn't have taken Rock to a Ravens game. Probably 4 years ago, I wouldn't have taken Rock to a Ravens game because Rock back then didn't like Lamar Jackson.
What?
Yeah, he didn't.
Listen to him. He smokes a lot of weed.
First of all, I can't pass a drug test because I can't spell marijuana. So, but no, the point is, and this goes to another point, but if you're not doing better now than you were doing 4 years ago, part of that's on you.
Exactly.
And if you're worried about someone who can't speak English, who's uneducated, that had to come into this country illegally, taking your job, then you probably need to reevaluate your skills. But I don't know anybody who can't get a job today because there's an immigrant from the southern border that took their job. You Rock, your hands up. Is that because you can't get a job because of someone from?
No, I just wanted to make a comment and ask a question. First question is, how are you so hard on immigrants and you married an immigrant? That's the first one. The second one, how do you own businesses that is probably 60 to 80% employed by people that came from south of the border, but you want to take them out of there? Do he realize the service in them hotels or the hotel industry period is dominated by Spanish people or immigrants?
So your question is a good one, and it brings up a very good point that, again, people need to open their minds and think.
And
he says,
recognize a hypocrite.
A hypocrite. But let's be real. He's not. He's talking all this shit about mass deportations. He's not going to do that. Right. Just for the same reason Rock just brought up. His businesses, these golf courses that he manages or his name is on, these hotels, they rely on this cheap labor, right? But I guarantee you, I don't know everything. I don't know a lot about a lot of things, but I'm smart enough to know that if you're unemployed, you get off your ass and go to any hotel downtown Baltimore and say, I want a job, I'll clean rooms. They're not going to tell you, can't hire you because Consuela is here.
Right.
So again, and this goes to, again, this myth that the government is taking care of these people. These people, and again, not everyone's monolithic, not everything is all inclusive. But I have never, my personal life, I've never come across an immigrant from South America, Mexico, Guatemala, who is here sitting on their ass not working. Everybody I know from there, immigrants, they got at least 3 hustles going on.
Right.
They are.
And for the ones who don't, those ones that you see selling flowers,
that's a hustle they're working.
That's what they have to do until they find a job.
And they're doing that, right? Mm-hmm. You don't see. The guy who does my yard work told me he does brick work. He does concrete work. In the wintertime, I sure will, because he does rock spin in my house, my yard. People look at my yard and go, oh my God, I'm like, I know, I work my ass out making sure my yard is like it is. I don't have a patch. I got a lot of property that needs to be cut. And my man comes there, he cuts my grass $70. $70. I'm not on a quarter acre, but I got a lot of grass. We live in Baltimore City. $70. He's got a crew of 3. They split that $70 3 ways. I'm sure he gets the majority of it.
Really?
But he gets my yard done so fast. If he does less than 15 yards a day, I'd be shocked. So 15 times 70, on Saturday, Sunday, probably cutting on Fridays too.
That's a nice piece of money.
Piece of money, cash money.
Untaxed.
Untaxed cash money. But they working hard. He ain't. You can't even get a crackhead to do a good job anymore. Like back in the day, crackheads cut your grass, wash your car, do it. Now with a pair of scissors, right? Knock that shit out. You be like, damn, right? But now these people are doing the work, and I'm not just saying black people. I'm saying anybody, white, anybody can get a job if they want a job. It might not be in the field that you think you should be in, but if you're not working, it's because you're not trying to work. When I couldn't find a job, I carried my ass to Home Depot, and for $10 an hour, I walked up and down Home Depot from was working there from like November to March, I think it was. And no, from November to mid-January. And it took until March for my ankles and knees to stop hurting, because walking on that concrete all day for $10 an hour. But I was happy to get it.
Right.
But if you can't humble yourself to work, you don't really want to work.
Right.
Today.
Yeah, I have a story to talk about. Glenda made mention of the roses or selling the flowers.
Mm-hmm.
Before I ventured out and started this radio station, I owned a cleaner company, right?
Mm-hmm.
And shout out to Juan. I love that man. I'll tell you about my relationship with him in a second. But it was a gentleman that came to me, and he had a conversation with me. We was talking about staffing, right? He told me that he could staff the site. What's the name of the makeup people? I think it's Sephora.
Yeah.
I had an account with them, right?
Mm-hmm.
He came to me, told me he could staff that site for me. Unbeknownst to me, the people who had the contract before me, he was staffing for them, right?
Okay.
He told me for $2,500 a month, I could get 4 employees, right?
Okay.
Work Monday through Friday, and he would make sure they was on time. I explained to him that I really didn't need him. I ended up getting 2 from him, but I didn't know that they was working for him when I got them. But let me tell you what he was doing and how he was coming up. He had a house in Glen Burnie, Maryland, right?
Okay.
All of them lived in the house.
Right.
All of them lived in the house.
Right. At least 10, right? At least 10 deep.
So you might have 3-4 families that live in this house, right?
Mm-hmm.
He had a greenhouse in back of the house. So the roses that they were selling,
they were growing.
He
Profit.
was growing.
Wow.
Profit.
And whenever they went out to work, their paycheck went to him. He told them that was to maintain the house. And he also had a 15-passenger van where he brought them to work, right?
Okay.
I didn't utilize him because I thought that was undercover slavery, to be honest with you. But just to see those people that was there, they ate together. When it came lunchtime, they would go to the one table. All of them pulled out like a Tupperware container, and they all shared.
Right.
Shared the meal. But when I ran across Juan, I didn't know Juan lived in the house. Me and Juan had a conversation. Juan got hired. Let me tell you why. Because I didn't speak Spanish.
Here it is.
I didn't speak Spanish. Juan got hired. After Juan was working there, Juan then brought his nephew aboard, and he brought, I think he was a cousin. He might not have been a cousin, but he said he was a cousin. And I promise you, that was the best crew I had. I had the cleaning company for almost 8 years. That was the best crew I could have ever had. Let me tell you what I did for Juan. I was in college at the time. See my ID?
Okay, you had ID to go into a college.
Yes,
I see it.
I did. But they had a class. The name of the class was English as your second language, right?
Okay.
Juan had a really, really bad accent. He spoke broken English, but it was frustrating communicating with him, right? The class cost me $151.
Oh, wow.
Sent him to BCCC on Liberty Heights, right?
Mm-hmm.
He did so well in the class. He came back to me. It was in December. You know what he asked me?
Could he work for you again?
No, he was still working for me.
Okay.
He asked me how could he register his wife
for the class.
You know what I did?
You paid for
I
it.
said, Merry Christmas, and that's exactly what I did. I had him meet me at BCCC on Liberty campus, and I paid for his wife to go to that class. Y'all don't understand. It was a gesture where they benefit, but it was for me.
Right.
I got tired of standing around him and not knowing what he was saying. You know, but the guy that was running that house is making a killing. If he wanted to charge me what he wanted to charge me, imagine how many other businesses he's charging.
Right. But the thing that is important that is what you said before, like they live together, eat together. It's not for lack of like there's nowhere else for them to live. They pool their money together so that they can go forward together.
Right. This was a conscious decision to live like that because they always had their eye on the bigger picture.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
You
right.
know, forget privacy. They trying to establish themselves, and once they do, you see all of these F-150s.
Yeah.
Right, and that's what they buy, right? You see the younger kids with the sports cars, right, and the Hondas. But you know the people who out there earning, they're buying trucks. They don't buy vehicles they can't make money with.
Right.
And they are my guy. He called me one. We text. He contacted me one Saturday and said that he couldn't get to me Saturday. He would be there the next weekend. I said, no problem. When he got there, he said, I'm sorry, but my truck caught fire. One of my trucks caught fire. And he showed me pictures of the truck. I was like, you have to show me, but the truck was on fire, it's burning up. I said, oh my God, what are you going to do? He said, I got another truck. And the truck was not a brand new truck.
Right.
He probably spent $3,000 for this truck. And he loaded his equipment on that truck. And if you can pay $3,000 for a truck that you're going to make, I don't know, what's the math? What's
in that weekend that
$1,000 a day.
$1,000 a day, right?
Over a weekend.
Over a weekend, he's making his money, and then he's out there cutting my grass. I was like, "You sure you don't?" Now, if I get other work done, the bushes, hedges, and all that trimmed up, and all that, the mulch and all that, that's going to cost me more. But yeah, because he should charge me more. But he's making money, and everything he's doing is about making money for his family. And the people working for him, I'm sure they're related to him, right? But they all putting that money together. And that's what we used to do as a people.
Yeah.
We don't do that now. We got to be like the white people. We got to have the bestest and the newest. And I ain't mad at you because I can't be riding around in a $3,000 truck. I can't. But if I need to pull my resources together so that we can go forward, that's what I'm gonna do.
Right.
If Rock's my boy and he and I want to go into business, I'm gonna sacrifice some stuff so we can be successful together.
Right.
Right? We pooling this money so we can go forward. So we need to, as Black people, we need to have that same energy again.
That's right.
We need to pool our mental resources together to help support each other when things are bad.
Right.
So that when
we
things
need
are
to focus on the greater good.
the greater
You
good.
know, it gets greater later. Like, you know, if you make this sacrifice now and live together cooperatively and pool together, you're gonna be able to get that luxury car that you want, or the house you want, or start the business you want. You know, there's a saying that said, if you want to go fast, go alone.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to
Go far, go together. If you put 3 people in a rowboat and only one person is rowing, that boat's only going to go as far as it can go till that one person is tired. And you get all 3 people rowing in unison, go as far as the limit is unlimited. And fast. You can get there if you got to work together.
Absolutely.
And when it comes to people needing support, when you know that your friends, your family members are struggling, be their support system. Don't leave it up to the interwebs and the books of faceness and the Graham instance and the tacky tickies to raise your people. That shit should be entertainment. And I know the world has changed, and now that's important. Like, that is real important. That's how they clock what we do to market to us, to to get us to do things together. But keep it where it is. Keep the real thing the real thing.
Right. Or take the positive from that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, all of that other stuff, you leave it right there. You
Leave
take
it there.
the positive from it.
And pull together. Pull people out of it. If the first thing you do when you wake up in the morning is grab your phone to get on Facebook or Reels or all that stuff, then maybe you need to.
Right. You got too much time on your hands.
You
You are misusing.
You're misusing your time. Misusing your time. Speaking of time, look, this has been a great show. It's one of my favorite shows because we kept the light-skinned person from interjecting too much. Glenda Curtis, She Speaks. Thank you. I really appreciate you staying after your show and helping us with this show. I want to thank the Mighty Midget Morphin Mooten for calling in early to give us her little 2 cents about some things. Rock, as always, I give you grief, but you know you're my main man, 100 grand for anything that you have, party, gathering, event. You should reach out to Rock Meg, WMEG, the Movement Entertainment Group. Contact this guy. He's one of the best DJs on the East Coast. He's definitely the best DJ in this room. So if you want to entertain your people, that's the man you need to contact. So with that, Mr. DJ, if you can figure out how to make one of them buttons back there play my outro music.
The nightlife, the night circle of sanity, radio show. What you got?
Oh yeah.
Great job, man.
Is state of emergency.
The nightlife, the night circle of sanity, radio show.
I'm gonna tell you something funny, man. Because I won't live my life on Facebook, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'll do stuff like I'll say stuff like I had a threesome today, it was great, you know, or took Suge out to the spa, so I should be able to get some sex or some head because I treated her nice today. And you see the comments that come